Hello everyone, I am LilyMoo961. Welcome to the channel. Over the last few months, I have heard a lot, and I mean a lot, of negative discourse toward video games. From the standard commentary of video games being the cause of increased violence in children and teens, to the opinion that playing video games at a certain age is a waste of valuable time that could be spent doing something more productive. Both of these thought processes are based on societal ideas concerning the medium, and the people who usually spout these claims are those who have no experience engaging with interactive art beyond a cursory glance. Though the primary objective of any game is to be fun for the player, there are countless games that push the boundaries of what video games can be. With stunning environments, engaging challenges, and masterful storytelling, video games can spark life into one's imagination in ways no other medium can match. Many of my favorite stories have been told in this interactive format, and those stories continue to provide many great lessons for me personally. But I feel that for my argument to be convincing, I need to provide a solid example. There are many different games that I could choose from. NieR Automata and NieR Replicant immediately jump to mind due to their themes on existential crisis and on how good intentions can pave the way to someone's destruction. But for a more casual listener to this argument, those games may not serve my purposes as effectively as something a bit more lighthearted, such as Kingdom Hearts. Now, those of you who know this game, this series, and know it well, some of y'all are already looking at me like I'm crazy. Now, I get it. Kingdom Hearts, as a series, is not necessarily something people would call high art, especially with how the stories of these games have become increasingly dense and convoluted over time.
Something smells funny. What's that scent? It's so familiar. Darkness. It's the smell of darkness.
But you, aren't you scared of just turning into someone else?
Me? I'm already half Xehanort.
That's nuts!
This is my story, and you're not part of it.
Did you forget who you're talking to? I am the Lord of the Dead!
No wonder no one wants to die.
It's a series that mixes elements of Final Fantasy and all things Disney, which is an odd combination in and of itself. Those who aren't all that open to video games to begin with would label Kingdom Hearts as a weird action game for kids and nothing more. But just like with video games as a medium in general, there is so much more to Kingdom Hearts and its story and its themes than meets the eye. As of recording this, I just finished my third playthrough of Kingdom Hearts 1. I'm on a bit of a journey to see which game in the series I like best, which will probably be its own video sometime in the future, but for right now, I want to get more personal and share the impact that this particular game has had on me recently. The first time I played Kingdom Hearts was back in 2014. I was 20 at the time and looking for a little bit of childhood nostalgia. Not because I was really hurting from being an adult yet. That was coming, but it wasn't here yet. I was just in college, and I was working part-time at the college. My schedule was pretty flexible. And up until 2014, the only games I had really played were fighting games, such as Tekken. Kingdom Hearts was completely under my radar for pretty much my whole life, aside from one song I heard in a commercial back when I was a kid in 2002. That song being Simple and Clean by Hikari Utada. If you've taken a glance at my channel, you'll know that I have countless playlists full of different kinds of music. I have always been a big music person, and this song immediately got stuck in my head for years and years and years. At no point did I ever forget about this song from this one Kingdom Hearts commercial that played on TV in 2002. My goodness, the power of good music. I remember thinking that whatever this commercial is advertising is super cool. Like, as a kid, I watched a lot of Sailor Moon, I watched Dragon Ball Z, and tons and tons and tons of Yu-Gi-Oh! I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! It's probably one of my favorites of the childhood anime, but that's a whole other story, whole other video, whole other everything. I went off script. Anyway, so seeing an anime boy with Donald and Goofy was so appealing to me, but I never got a chance to play this game as a kid. It kind of just left my brain. And the reason that happened is because the year that it came out, my mom was diagnosed with Crohn's disease and nearly died during the summer of 2002. Put a pin in this fact. This will be relevant information later. Back to 2014. By now, I had found this song from Kingdom Hearts, but I hadn't actually looked into the game just yet. Since I had free time to spare, I looked into it a bit, saw the announcement for Trailer Hearts 3. Oh, I'm so sorry. The mic probably peaked so bad there, but like, can you Trailer Hearts 3? What is this, a Cars spinoff? I'm sorry. Okay, we'll redo that. I'll probably leave that in, but like, Trailer Hearts 3. Okay, yeah, I get it. I'm not funny. But anywho, where was I even on this script? Okay, so Kingdom Hearts 3. I saw the trailer, and I watched a playthrough of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 immediately following that trailer on YouTube. And after watching these, I decided to purchase Kingdom Hearts 1.5 Remix for the PS3, and immediately started playing Kingdom Hearts 1 after it arrived at my house. A huge, and I mean a huge, kick of nostalgia hit me going through all the Disney worlds in the game, especially worlds like Agrabah, Deep Jungle, Neverland, and yes, even Atlantica. I know we don't like Atlantica in, the Kingdom Hearts fan base, but like, for me, I enjoy it just fine. The swimming combat is not that bad once you get used to it. Okay, y'all just quit complaining. At least it's not Kingdom Hearts 2 Atlantica, okay? Kingdom Hearts 1 Atlantica over Kingdom Hearts 2 Atlantica any day of the week, okay? Okay. I enjoyed traveling through the worlds of my childhood alongside Donald and Goofy. I enjoyed the almost foreboding sense of mysticism thrown in throughout the game. I loved the Final Fantasy cameos, even though I had no idea who these characters were at the time. I was a 20-year-old re-experiencing the magic of a childhood I hadn't even really left behind yet. I was in college, yes, but I was still living at home. And I had a job at the college, but I had no bills to pay. And the only responsibility I had was just to keep my grades up. I didn't even have my driver's license at this time. And there was pressure surrounding me to just grow up already. But despite some of the tough things I experienced in childhood, thanks to my mom's unexpected sickness and family issues that followed, most of my childhood was fantastic. Why would I want to leave when it was that good? Okay, it was great. I have so many great memories tied to the Renaissance era of Disney, and Kingdom Hearts 1 is full of vibrancy, color, and verticality and exploration, and it's just so much fun to see these worlds through Sora's eyes, even though sometimes his movement is kind of awkward in this game. It is a little clunky, but I don't mind that because as a character, Sora is exactly what he should be. He is a kid that wants to see new worlds and go on adventures with his friends. But rather than naturally grow into those things, he's thrust into a high-stakes mission where finding his friends is the least of his responsibilities. These stakes only grow and carry over into the following titles of the series, especially as we learn about other characters connected to Sora and the tragic nature of their stories. This is what growing up felt like to me. I enjoyed my childhood and wasn't particularly in a rush to grow up, but the pressure of the world was coming. Now, in contrast, I do not remember the second time I played through Kingdom Hearts 1 at all. I don't know what year I did it. I'm not even sure what age I was. I was probably either 22 or 23. I don't know. All I know is that it didn't have as much of an impact on me the second time around. And I do remember getting bored with it at points. I was older. And I was waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 like everyone else, so I was really just playing through Kingdom Hearts 1 again to pass the time. And along the way, on top of all that, I also discovered games like NieR Automata, and that game impacted me on a whole different scale that I have talked about ad nauseum in other videos on this channel. Go find them if you want to know my thoughts on NieR Automata, because I love that game. Will not stop talking about that game. I love that game way too much. So by the time Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, there was no nostalgia left for me to work with. Most of the films represented in Kingdom Hearts 3 were either films that were newer that I saw in my adulthood, or films that didn't have a strong impact on me when I saw them as a kid. And while I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts 3 a lot, my enjoyment of it was tied to the characters I had grown to care deeply about during the course of my slow journey through the series. Nothing in the game outright disappointed me, but after playing through stories such as NieR Automata and the original NieR from 2010, the more lighthearted and whimsical storytelling wasn't as impactful for me at that time. There were parts of it that got emotional responses out of me, and I really did love the game overall, but Kingdom Hearts 3 wasn't the next NieR Automata for me, so I quickly moved on to other games and K-pop. A lot of K-pop. Especially BTS. This channel reflects my never-ending love for BTS and NieR in equal measure, and I am not ashamed of it at all. And so, Kingdom Hearts became a distant and fond memory, nothing more. So what changed? If I actively feel that other video games, particularly NieR Automata, are better at illustrating the artistry of what video games can be in their storytelling and atmosphere, why is this video about Kingdom Hearts at all? Specifically, Kingdom Hearts 1. Remember the tidbit about my mom that I mentioned? How she was very ill in 2002 and almost died? Well, on October 18th, 2021, my mom passed away from complications involving the resurgence of her illness. This was after I lost my best friend to a seizure in September 2020 and my grandmother in January 2021. A few months after she passed away, my dad started dating, not because he was actively trying to, but life is strange and things happen, okay? It would take too long of a time to describe how everything came to be. It's a very long story, very crazy. Lots of stuff happened. The point is that on November 5th, 2022, my dad married this lady that he was dating. So my stepmother, who I'm calling my stepmother for brevity's sake, because if she watches this video and hears me call her stepmother, she will froth at the mouth and will be ready to choke me. Well, I'm sorry, I got it. Brevity, okay? Brevity. Don't get mad, okay? Okay, good, great. When I first met my stepmother, we clicked immediately. There was love between us. It was like love at first sight, except mother-daughter dynamic. It was like that. We were the best of friends immediately, had a great relationship, and we were cool. Everything was good. But over time, the dynamics of our relationship just ended up transforming. And shortly after the knot was tied between her and my dad, problems started to arise. Because, well, for a lot of different reasons, but it has left me with feelings of betrayal, loss, and sadness. And throughout all this, I ended up with a new job where my responsibilities climbed up the charts. I pay bills now. I'm responsible for making sure employees get their tax forms. I have to make sure supplies are ordered, that checks are written out, that weekly news bulletins, I feel like I said that weird, weekly news bulletins get done. And I still have to complete chores and contribute to the household where I live because, yes, I still live at home with my dad and my stepmama and have not moved out. I got my driver's license back in 2018 though, so yay for that. I can at least drive and get to my job and do what I need to do at work and then come home and do more stuff. I'm working all the time now, a lot. That's partially why I don't get to upload videos so much no more. Different story. We're gonna get back on task. So, I am 28 now, and during the Christmas season, so about roughly 2 months ago, in which I felt utterly alone a lot of the time, I began playing Kingdom Hearts again. I had started a playthrough earlier in 2022 because my dad wanted to see what Kingdom Hearts was about, but with wedding preparations and my job and everything else that was going on during the latter half of 2022, I wasn't able to continue the playthrough until close to Christmas. This playthrough of Kingdom Hearts was something special for me. I didn't feel any nostalgia for the Disney properties anymore, but I didn't need to. I had played this game twice before, so a lot of it was familiar. However, I came across more and more things that I wasn't familiar with or that I had forgotten. I tried out new strategies against bosses. I learned something new about how the arrow spell doesn't just shield you, it does damage to any enemy that gets close to you. I beat the snot out of Riku, which was more satisfying this time than it had ever been before because now I knew the hurt of being betrayed by a friend who was acting stupid, out of selfishness and desperation. Put a pin in this too. I will be talking about Riku later, because that's going to be important. After beating most of the main story campaign and the Hades Cup at Olympus, I made a decision to do something that I had never done before. I decided that I was going to take on one secret boss. And this is where some of the main ideas that inspired this video are going to come into play. A lot of the arguments against video games have to do with it inspires violence in children and teens and whoever else plays them, which, at times ain't 100% inaccurate, but, and here's the caveat for this, video games can also teach many practical lessons that are good, not only for children and teens, but for adults as well. And I'm going to explain this by talking to you guys about my campaign to beat one secret boss in Kingdom Hearts 1. So then, which boss do I choose? Well, to narrow it down, I had a couple of key things that helped me to narrow it down. I did not want the gimmick of having to switch between basic strategies and a magic build mid-battle. I didn't want to have to do anything like that, so that immediately took out the secret boss in Neverland and Agrabah. Sephiroth would require that I get up to level 99, and potentially I would need to make the Ultima weapon, and I knew that neither of those things were happening. I have a job and bills to pay now. Ain't nobody got time for all that. And so that left Mr. Blackcoat himself, Xemnas. With his story relevance as an added bonus to his lack of gimmicks, he was the secret boss I chose to wipe the floor with. Now, I regrettably do not have footage of my gameplay of this boss because I am unable to record footage for any of the games I play. But what I can do is discuss the process in methodical detail. I'll just go detail for detail how things went down. So, on my first round of attempts, I was level 74. I tried these 5 attempts as learning experiences because I knew I was underleveled for the fight. I knew I wasn't going to win going into it. The main problem I had with Xemnas initially in these educational rounds was finding openings and escaping his doom mechanic, which meant instant death for me in most of those initial attempts. Because at first I didn't know what was happening or how to get out of it. What Xemnas will do sometimes in the fight, he'll catch you in a beam of electricity. This beam of electricity is a doom spell, meaning that it will continuously drain your health until you die, unless you press the triangle button at the right time to release yourself from the spell. The only problem is that the timing on this can be ridiculously unfair, and if you don't manage to release yourself in time, it's an automatic game over. Even if you get lucky and get out the first time he hits you with this, you can easily get caught a second or even a third time and run out of health even with Donald and Goofy there helping you throughout the fight. And you're definitely in trouble if they are out of commission for any amount of time, because Donald and Goofy, let me tell you, they are fantastic distractions, and they can deal damage to Xemnas, even while you're dodge rolling all over the place just so you can find a safe spot to heal. After 5 attempts on this first day, I quit and said, not today. However, at no point did I feel that this fight was impossible. I had gotten Xemnas to his last 2 bars of health at level 74. And from that alone, I knew that I could beat this boss. But I would need to go in at a bit of a higher level. I would need to do some other things first. But it wasn't going to be that day. I was going to take my break. I had other things to do. I could only really dish out about an hour's worth of gameplay to any session that I did. So I called it quits for that day. On the second day of attempts, I started by going to Neverland to level up, which is the best place to go, because the layout of the ship makes it so there are always Heartless spawning somewhere with virtually no real downtime between the rooms. I got up to level 77, then went back to Hollow Bastion to face Xemnas again and made 5 more attempts. Xemnas continued to catch me off guard with the Doom mechanic because I was still trying to master the timing of the triangle press to get out of the Doom spell. However, in these attempts, I discovered more of Xemnas' openings, and on my 4th attempt, I got him down to his last bar of health. When Xemnas is down to his last bar of health, he will whip out a desperation move, which is essentially a laser light show where most of the attacks, oddly enough, are easy to dodge. Of course, the first time I saw the desperation move, I was caught off guard and immediately lost, but I wasn't discouraged by the loss because now I knew everything that Xemnas could throw at me. All it came down to now was proper timing on the Doom mechanic, more frequent usage of my Aroga spell, which, as I mentioned before, deals damage to enemies that get close to you while cutting down on the damage you receive from them, and using Ars Arcanum whenever I got a good opening. Oh, and additionally to that, I also had to make sure that Donald and Goofy were equipped with enough ethers, high potions, mega potions, and mega ethers to make sure they stayed active in battle for as long as possible. Goofy also has an ability called MP Gift, which is especially useful in this fight, but I still needed to level up a little more. So after my 5th attempt, I quit again and said, not today. The 3rd day was special. I went back to Neverland and got up to level 79 fairly quickly, and used the money I had gained from all the level grinding to buy an extra defensive accessory, which I gave to Goofy and rearranged some accessories for Donald and Goofy, respectively. So they had the highest level of health, defense, and strength as they could have at the level that they were at. Though I would have used these items on Sora, my build for him was as strong as it was going to get. I had Divine Rose and 3 other accessories equipped that I do not remember right now, and no, I am not booting up my save file just to check what they were. Sora had gained extra health, strength, and defense from my level ups, as well as the ability Berserk, which was the ultimate game changer. Because what Berserk does is exponentially increase your damage output when you are at critical health. Knowing I had that ability locked and loaded as an emergency trump card was the last bit of confidence I needed to take on Xemnas for my last round of attempts. My first attempt did not go all that well. I can only call it a warm-up. The Doom mechanic was still taking me out when I got caught by it, but it was on this first attempt that I learned what I needed to do to get out of the Doom spell if I got caught by it. Spam that triangle button as fast as I can and hope for the best. Ultimately, that's what the run came down to. Though I got better with the timing of the release command, it helped to just spam the button repeatedly. Sometimes I could wait on it and not press the button in time simply because I wasn't fast enough. Spamming it made it so I never missed it when it came up. My second attempt went better, but I got caught on that Doom mechanic midway through the fight and the release command just wasn't around. But I had gotten Xemnas to his last bar of health again. Part of the reason I died in this attempt was because Donald and Goofy got knocked out and couldn't heal me. By the way, I do want to mention that in Kingdom Hearts 1, Donald and Goofy are healing machines in battles like this. They'll heal each other most often, but if you're low on MP, Goofy will give you MP 9 times out of 10. And on low health, Donald and Goofy will both heal you at the same time if Goofy has any potions equipped to him. And once again, they are great distractions that deal damage. Donald will also cast Aroga on you over and over again like it's the best spell in the game. Because it is. I found that out this playthrough. Aroga and Gravira are your best friends. You won't even need Cure if you have those around. Trust me. With all this knowledge equipped, I went in with an all-out attack strategy in which I would attack whenever, and I mean whenever, Xemnas left an opening for me. If I couldn't actively attack, I would have Aroga as a shield to defend from Xemnas' retaliation. I had ethers, elixirs, and high potions equipped to Sora for an emergency in case Donald or Goofy didn't raise my MP for me. Anytime I had a clear opening, I would use Ars Arcanum, which is a vicious slashing attack that slices on an enemy's health like no other in the game. As long as my MP never ran out, and as long as I kept my health high enough in preparation for the Doom spell, I could win. Attempt 3, which was my 13th attempt overall, Tetsuya Nomura would be very happy and proud about that, was the winning attempt. Everything, and I mean everything, came together. I knew what openings to take, I used Aroga as my main spell, and wailed on Xemnas whenever he was open for an attack. I managed to evade his Doom mechanic for most of the fight, and once again saw his desperation move. He was on his last bar. Right after his desperation move, I got caught by the Doom spell, and was at full health when I got caught. I pressed that triangle button like a mad woman, and I got out of that Doom command. Donald healed me immediately after, and I was dodge rolling away from Xemnas. Goofy raised my MP while I was dodge rolling, and I used an ether to raise my MP also, which was the first item I had used during this entire fight, because Goofy was constantly raising my MP for me. Xemnas did his desperation move, which I dodged as best I could, and then Xemnas caught me in the Doom mechanic a second time. By some miracle, I got out again. Immediately after I got out the second time, I looked and saw that Xemnas only had half a bar of health remaining, and I didn't even think. I went in, all in. The second I saw an opening, I went in with Ars Arcanum. Goofy was right behind me doing his spinning shield attack, and just like that, Xemnas was defeated. For the first time ever, I defeated a Kingdom Hearts secret boss on the hardest difficulty mode available in the game. It took 13 attempts, and I was level 79 when I did it. The process of gaining this victory taught me so much about how to handle some of the daily struggles life can throw at you, the type of struggles that can be mentally draining if you let them. Sometimes you have to take breaks before attempting a challenge that's especially difficult for you. In life, you have to build up experiences in order to take on more elaborate problems. The process of dealing with these challenges needs to have a level of fun to them. Have a good attitude about the challenge rather than going in with an attitude of defeat, and it'll be a lot easier for you. In the same 3 days that I was taking on this boss, I was dealing with some major tax issues that had to be solved at work within a very short amount of time. And I was completely unfamiliar with how to handle this type of business at that time. However, during those 3 days, I applied what I was doing in Kingdom Hearts to this real-life, super adult challenge that I had virtually no experience with prior to actually having it flung in my face. My break time from these tax issues was spent in this game, and as I was learning strategies for facing Xemnas, I learned very real and applicable ways to limit my stress in my own life in a way that I hadn't done before. Taking breaks from bosses in games is generally something that I've always done, but when it came to the super bosses that are extra difficult, I used to believe that I didn't even have the skill set for them, so I never even tried. Even in Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, there are story things that are locked behind secret bosses. I literally started a new save file on critical mode rather than standard with easy codes applied in case I needed them, which I did. Though I defeated most of the Remind bosses on critical mode, I would have things on like regenerating health or auto block to help me out during those fights. And so while those victories still felt good, they didn't feel 100% earned, especially because there were certain bosses I straight up said no to and used the one-shot kill code to automatically win the battle so I could get to the story stuff faster. And it's the same kind of application to certain issues I was dealing with in real life. If I felt like they were too much for me, if I felt like I couldn't do it, I wouldn't try, or I would find a cheap way to get through it. You know what I'm saying? You know, that sort of thing. And there are no such codes in Kingdom Hearts 1. I had no choice but to beat Xemnas with my own skills and the tools given to me through Donald and Goofy. I had to think about how I was going to approach this obstacle before me and be methodical as well as positive in my mindset. Conquering this challenge helped boost my confidence in the tax matters that had felt so elusive to me. This is a type of hands-on lesson you just can't get in other mediums. You can certainly learn good life lessons from books, television, and film, but in no other medium of entertainment can you actively apply these concepts in a scenario that gives you a safe space to fail and fail miserably. Failure is often a key component to success. In the past, I was terrified of failure, even in video games. That's why I wouldn't try. No one likes the feeling of losing, but losses are training grounds for victory. And I know that that's a basic statement, and maybe it's something that I should have known in the past, but some people learn differently. I had to learn like this. I couldn't have beat Xemnas without those 12 losses, just as I wouldn't be the person I am today without the losses and failures I've collected in recent years. But I never really saw that until I made the effort to beat this one boss that the 20-year-old version of me never seriously attempted, did not even really want to attempt because she didn't think she could do it. She didn't want this nostalgia-driven experience to be ruined by this dark and mysterious figure called failure. In 2014, despite being in college and working a job at my school, I felt like a failure because I didn't have my driver's license. I had failed my first driver's test. I was just consumed by that because it was one of my first major failures I'd ever truly experienced. Because a lot of things do naturally come easy to me. I am a fast learner. It doesn't take me a whole lot of attempts to get things done. But it took me years to get over this one failure because I just wasn't willing to try again. I hadn't failed enough. But that isn't who I am now. Now I have the ability to try again because I failed more. The practical exercise of taking on this boss in a video game taught me something new about myself. I'm actually confident in my own abilities now, and failure isn't so scary to me anymore. So that's a practical lesson that I have personally gained from a video game that has exponentially improved my life. But maybe we need something deeper. Yes, something more personal, more emotional to deliver this point home. Because maybe practicality don't work for some people. Maybe they need something that, inspires, the tears and the emotions and such. So let's do that. Okay, let's talk about the characters in this game. Riku. Okay, well, as stated earlier, an issue I'm dealing with right now, me and my stepmother, we're having some issues with one another. And honestly, it feels similar to how Sora and Riku struggle against each other in Kingdom Hearts 1. How, you ask? Well, I'll tell you. Riku is the one with lofty dreams and expectations about what his future and the future of his friends should be. He is the ringleader of dissatisfaction with how things are in his life at the present moment. Rather than fully enjoying the time he has with Sora and Hikari, he wants more. The island, which is a paradise where he has no real problems to speak of, has become a problem for him, simply because he wants what he doesn't have. Though he wants adventure in his life, it's not in a carefree sense. He wants adventure to feel something that's missing within himself. He's prideful, he's stubborn, and a touch arrogant in Kingdom Hearts 1. He's not a bad person, but his belief that he should be the savior and leader of the gang is part of why Riku and Sora have such a deep rivalry at the start of this story. Innocent as it is, there's some real tension between them, especially when Hikari is in the mix. She's the center of their attention. Like, they literally have a competition to see which one of them gets to share the Paopu fruit with Hikari. And the Paopu fruit in this game has a romantic subcontext to some degree. Whoever shares the Paopu fruit with Hikari is the one destined to be with her forever. It can be argued, though, that Riku's intent in even mentioning this to Sora was to help Sora realize his own feelings for Hikari, but this is an antagonistic way of achieving that end. Now, I know from experience that this tactic is one that people use sometimes to, quote-unquote, help others. Whether it's actually effective or not is up for debate, but some people, they can look at a person and they want to fix them. because, they see where they may be lacking, or they see, potential in them, and they want to help them grow, but they don't do so in a way that actually promotes growth. Instead, it ends up, backfiring in their face a lot of the time. Now, Sora is in a different space. Sora is someone who is thoroughly enjoying his childhood. #relatable. He is excitable, he's naive, and he has no real interest in looking toward the future. He's too busy living in the present moment, day by day, which honestly is the best way to live. His demeanor and general attitude at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts shows that he has genuine curiosity for seeing other worlds. He's not trying to escape his own world to find something more. He just wants an adventure for the sake of having an adventure with his friends. What better way to express the dichotomy between these two characters than to show them in this way that they have this rivalry and they're so similar and they want the same thing, but they want the same thing for entirely different reasons. Just like in my life, me and my stepmother virtually want the same thing. We want to have a good relationship, but we have completely different ideas of how we should go about our lives. We're from two different worlds in many respects, even though we have a lot of similarities and we have the same end goal, but we don't know how to get there together at this time. Now, with Riku goading Sora on and Hikari suddenly proposing that she and Sora should take the raft and just leave Riku behind, it leaves a lot of questions in Sora's mind that he doesn't even get to properly digest before his island is swallowed up by darkness and he's forced to take on a mystical weapon he was never actually meant to have. Suddenly, this kid, who is only interested in having adventures with his friends for the sake of having fun, is thrust into a role in which he has to actively be responsible. He has to go to other worlds and seal the keyholes, or they will end up like his home that got destroyed by darkness. Even though he wants to find Riku and Hikari and is glad to see Riku when he shows up, he can't just abandon the task of sealing the keyholes of these different worlds. He has to do this because he is the only one around who can do so. And if he doesn't do so, a lot of bad things will happen. At no point does he say to Riku that he can't come along, though. That was Donald. Unfortunately, Riku runs off to Maleficent and buys into the idea that Sora doesn't care about him or Hikari anymore simply because he has other friends aside from him and Hikari now and other responsibilities. Maleficent plants a dark seed in Riku's head and it grows and grows until he's outright antagonistic towards Sora for virtually no reason. And even though he finds Hikari before Sora does, she's in a comatose state, which makes Riku feel even more isolated because he's a primary component of why their world got swallowed up in the first place. By Neverland, he has become Sora's enemy. Not only is he antagonistic, but now he's controlling the very creatures he believes stole Kairi's heart.
You're stupid!
All of this culminates in Hollow Bastion when Riku temporarily steals Sora's Keyblade. Donald and Goofy abandon Sora, leaving him to fend for himself with nothing but a useless wooden sword as a means of defense. This is the moment where Sora is most alone. Kairi is in a coma, Riku has betrayed him, and his new friends have abandoned him. That is a different kind of loneliness. The loneliness of knowing you have to keep moving forward even though no one is standing beside you. The Beast joins your party here, but it's not like he's your friend at this point. He joins you because the two of you have a mutual goal of saving someone precious. That's it. You can't really rely on your own power here either. You have to rely on Beast and on the magic you can cast to get through the Heartless aiming to devour you. Sora had every reason to be bitter about this. He could have gotten angry, he could have quit. He could have held these things against Riku, Donald, and Goofy. Instead, he goes into the castle with his wooden sword and is prepared to face his doom at the hands of Riku because of his determination to remain true to his heart and continue fighting for his friends. Seeing this, Goofy protects Sora and Donald rushes back to Sora's side while apologizing, and immediately after, Sora says the famous line about how he doesn't need a weapon because his friends are his power. That moment when the Keyblade returns to him is just way too good. It's a scene that showcases exactly what Riku has given up by sticking to this path of darkness. In giving up his home, his bond with Sora, and his own morality, he exchanged true strength for a false sense of power that ultimately failed him. But even still, Sora never, ever gives up hope that he can get Riku back to the light. He doesn't give up on his friend even after all the horrible things that he did. He still chooses to believe in the goodness of Riku's heart. He knew Riku could find his way back to the light. And throughout the series, Riku does eventually redeem himself and becomes a friend Sora can rely on at the worst of times for strength and support. Eventually, Riku saw the true value in his bond with Sora and Hikari. He eventually realized just how stupid he had been to throw all that away when he already had everything he could have possibly ever wanted or needed. Though the darkness will always have a hold on him, there's enough light guiding his path in the present of Kingdom Hearts that it's doubtful he'll ever fall again. Sora is a great character in this regard because it's clear that he never holds a grudge against Riku throughout this first game. He gets mad, calls him stupid, and beats the snot out of him, but at no point does Sora ever stop calling Riku his friend. He maintains that mentality about Riku regardless, even when the boy literally tries to kill him. Let me say that again. Literally tries to kill him, and he has no bitterness, no anger, none of that. Is still concerned about his friend, even though his friend literally tried to kill him. In regards to the relationship struggles I'm having in my own life with my stepmother, Sora's example is a beautiful lesson for me. This is what I need to do. Some people are difficult to love, and it'd be really easy to cast them aside, label them as toxic, and walk away. And in some situations, it's necessary to do that when it's dangerous for you. Even so, the people who are in your life for a reason, and we should all learn how to forgive one another. It's not wise to constantly throw relationships away just because they're not looking so good early on, or because they don't fit into your ideal of what you wanted, just because that person isn't what you expected them to be, or not necessarily what they promised to be. Everyone has flaws. Everyone has qualities that are toxic sometimes. Everyone should have an opportunity to grow past those things and evolve into a better person. If we aren't willing to forgive, chances are we won't be forgiven when we have our Riku moments. Be the Sora in someone's life. Believe in the goodness of their heart, even when they're being outright cruel or evil to you. Because one thing I've learned over time is that a little bit of light can penetrate the greatest of shadows. The last piece of Kingdom Hearts that I want to touch on is the subject pertaining to loss. It's not that it's the heaviest theme in Kingdom Hearts 1. It's not even really mentioned that much, but I view the campaign of Kingdom Hearts 1 through a different lens now because of the losses that I've had. I feel that Kingdom Hearts 1 is a story of a childhood on the verge of disappearing. And at the start of this game, Sora is a carefree kid through and through. By the end of the game, while he's still a positive person and mostly carefree, he's not as carefree as he was. He's been through some trials, and he watches his best friend disappear into the darkness. Then right behind that, he's forced to say goodbye to a girl he might have feelings for, promising that he'll come back to her someday, before the beginning notes of Simple and Clean rip through the silence as their hands come apart. The separation between Sora and Hikari here feels especially powerful to me now, especially after the loss of my mother. I feel it in a different way. You know, as of the time of this recording, I played through the final campaign of, Kingdom Hearts 1 today, beating Ansem and all that. And there was something about that scene that hit different. Because the other two times that I played Kingdom Hearts 1, I had never really experienced loss before. And this time, I went into this game having experienced 3. And am still mourning, am still grieving. Not just my mother, but grieving relationships that I thought would be different than what they are. And having to accept that has been one of the most difficult things, because it takes strength to move forward from that. Strength that I wasn't always certain I had. The separation between Sora and Hikari is just one of those things that just hit different today. In the early part of the game, Kairi's heart gets trapped within Sora's, so even though they're separated from each other, Kairi's heart was always with Sora. And at one point, he ends up sacrificing himself to release her heart from his, so she can finally wake up from her comatose state. And they're separated again for a short time. And through the power of friendship or love or whatever, Kairi brings him back, but Sora's job isn't done yet. He still has to defeat Ansem and seal the final door. And after that door is sealed, that job still isn't done. His adventure has to continue elsewhere, away from Kairi. And she has to go back home without him. It's a personal headcanon for me now that Kairi experienced Sora's adventure alongside him the whole time without him knowing it, and that her heart, being trapped inside his, felt all the things he felt going to those different worlds. And so what got to me in this playthrough was when she went to the secret place and saw what he added to the drawing of the two of them. Like, it got me. And I literally started crying the second Kairi did. Because that was the moment that Kairi truly realized what Sora meant to her. And this was also the moment that she started to miss him. Because loss is weird. Grief is weird. In that sometimes when you first lose someone, you don't necessarily miss them immediately. And trust me, I've learned that through experience. You can lose someone and it can take time, a substantial amount of time, for you to miss them. Because if you're constantly busy, if you're constantly trying to move forward and trying not to think about the loss or trying not to think about what a person meant to you, it can take time for you to miss them. It took time for me to truly start missing my mother. I missed her the instant she died, but I didn't really feel it until later. Until, those triggers popped up in which I would remember things, or I could remember things that my mom would say to me. Like, if my mom could see me now, I know she'd be proud of me. I know she'd tell me how proud she is of me, because I've grown a lot, and I know I've grown a lot. And I know that's what she'd say. But knowing that makes me miss her more than I did even when she first passed away over a year ago. I miss her more now than I did back then. I feel like I miss her more now than I did throughout the majority of 2022. I miss her more now because now I'm actually willing to look at my grief in a different way that I didn't before. And partially, and it's going to be weird to say it like this, but partially because of this game that I'm re-experiencing. I started playing this more to just keep my mind off of things. And instead, I got a lesson about what it means to stick with people. Because one of the last things that my mom advised me on, a couple of weeks before she passed away, she warned me to be careful about cutting people out of my life, over minor offenses. Don't sweat the small stuff. That was one of the things that she always said. And so seeing that moment when Kairi really started to miss Sora was what got me today. Like, I cried for a minute or two. Because all she can do is wait for the day that she can meet Sora again. And she has no way of knowing when that will be. Only that it will come. And, I have to believe that about my mom. That someday I'll meet my mom again in a better place. And I know that God is taking care of her just as He's continued to take care of me and my family and my loved ones. And I know that eventually, even if me and my stepmother can't have a mother-daughter dynamic like I had hoped, like I had wanted, we can still be friends and still give support and love to each other. I believe that. But it can be hard to believe that when you're in the middle of hurt. And so, Sora is very inspirational to me right now. And so, in conclusion, video games, yes, they're for entertainment. And not all of them are meant to be art, and not all of them are meant to have lessons. And some of them, you know, do kind of create this idea of, you know, violence being okay or whatever, which it's not. But, you know, some games, you know, promote it more than others. But that doesn't mean that the medium itself is a bad thing. You have to take the good with the bad. You know, it can be a great medium, it can be a harmful medium. It really just depends on the individual that experiences that game, that story. Because for me, Kingdom Hearts is one of the best examples of how to keep going, how to move forward, how to trust in your purpose, how to trust that the bonds that you create will last, and that no matter how alone you feel, there are people out there that love you, that care about you, that miss you. And that is something that I will take with me moving forward as I continue to grieve my mother and as I continue to build relationships with other people. That will always be with me. And I thank God for the people who took the time to craft this story and who really thought about these things, even if it was just on a subtextual level. Even if I'm just reading too much into it, the fact that I could gain all these different things, practical lessons, but also emotional lessons from a very simple story that was, you know, made for kids. And, you know, sometimes adults need those childhood lessons more than anybody else, because we forget these things and we let bitterness and hatred and anger get to us. Anyway, I feel that I've probably said enough. And so in conclusion, I'll just say that video games, you know, can be great. And they can tell a lot of good stories, and it is a beautiful art form. And to not underestimate the power of interactive art. It is important to look at things with an open mind and an open heart. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys for watching this, because it's not going to be the best quality video, but I hope that what I'm saying here will resonate with somebody. If it can resonate with just one person, that's enough for me. And I thank you for watching this video to the end. God bless you, I love you all, and enjoy some video games. Bye bye! Mwah!